everybody, how's it going? It's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Ooh, we get to have a rocket launch. I feel like it's been a little while since we've really been able to see a rocket launch, and today is an exciting one because it's another Starlink mission, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening in this mission, and hopefully a chance to redeem the last couple Starlink launches have not gone so well. Well, I mean, they've gone, the mission themselves were flawless, but as far as as far as landing and recovery, it really wasn't fantastic. So we're gonna hang on. I gotta get a few things going here. So what we're gonna do is we're first going to go to this website called everydayastronaut.com, and then we are going to read through the mission, because this is a pretty standard mission these days. I think we're all fairly used to this, but this is Starlink 6 Falcon 9 Block 5 taking off today. In what do we have? Oh, the timer's not working here. Hold on. Boop. In 27 minutes. There we go. Yay. Yay. How are you guys? I hope you guys are all sticking around and having fun and surviving and staying safe. It's been crazy times. We have a lot to talk about, so let me just get started here. So this is taking off today, April 22nd, on Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, all of us on Earth, unless you're watching this from the International Space Station. But otherwise, well, even then, I mean, you're still taking part of Earth. You're still bound to Earth. So, okay, here we go. This is taking off here at 3:30. They moved it up 5 minutes, which I don't know how they did that. And it's 19:30 UTC now. So again, that's in less than 30 minutes from right now. This is Starlink 6, the sixth operational launch of Starlink version 1. The launch provider is SpaceX. This is a SpaceX rocket launching for SpaceX. They're their own customer for these missions, which is super cool, which is super exciting. Yeah, because these are their satellites going to space, so that's awesome. The rocket, of course, like I said, is a Falcon 9 Block 5. This is 1051.4, so this is the fourth flight of this particular booster. You always know after that the period that denotes how many times this vehicle has launched, so this will be its fourth flight. So yeah. Launch location, this is taking off at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, Launch Complex 39A. This is, of course, where in about a month from today, a month and 5 days or so, we're going to see humans returning to space, taking off from the United States for the first time since 2011 from this exact launch complex. So pay special attention. It's the beautiful complex. It's the same place where all the Saturn V missions took off from. It's the same launch pad where most of the space shuttle missions took off from, like 80 or something of the shuttle missions took off from there. And it's just this gorgeous pad. You'll see the fixed service structure that's a black monolith and everything. Very cool. Definitely the most hallowed ground as far as as far as space centers go. So as far as pads. Let's see here. So let's keep going here. Payload mass. This is 18,500 kilograms. That is pushing the Falcon 9 as far as being reusable to its limits. That's 41,000 pounds. That is definitely pushing the vehicle to its limits. These satellites are going to about 550 kilometers in altitude. They are attempting to recover the first stage. As we know, the last two landings, was it the last two, or was there one in between? I'm losing track now. I feel like it's been forever. But they have had some missions not go so well lately for the landing. Hopefully they're kind of tweaking and really, I know that they're definitely on the thin edge of the envelope of what's physically possible. Pushing the vehicle this far in order to put that much mass into space, into this particular orbit. They're definitely pushing those boosters pretty much all the way to the limit. So hopefully today they got some stuff figured out. They're ready to go. Yeah. So there we go. They are attempting to recover the first stage, like I said, and it will be landing 630 kilometers downrange. That's quite far. And of course, I still love you. That's the name of the drone ship. They are attempting to recover both fairing halves today, and they are reflown. So this is, I think, the second time they've reused a booster, if I recall. So that's super exciting as well. That's always good news, seeing more and more recoverability. So in other words, this vehicle, the only thing that's new is the second stage, and obviously the payloads and the payload adapter. But as far as what's new, it's only a small portion of the vehicle, which is super cool. This would be the 84th flight of a Falcon 9. Atlas V is at 83. So it's officially, if this launches today, it'll be, it will officially surpass the Atlas V as far as number of total flights. 51st booster landing, if it lands, hopefully, guys. Fingers crossed today. 35th reflight of a booster. Third reflight of a third time reflying a fairing. We already had 2 reflights of fairings? Man, I'm losing track. This is crazy. It seems like it's, yeah. Oh, first reflight of a caught fairing. There we go. That's as opposed to fishing them out of the water. So that's always a pretty exciting. So 5th mission for SpaceX in 2020. It's been a little bit slower year for whatever reason compared to other years. It should be a jam-packed year. I think we're definitely going to be seeing some impact from some of the pandemic stuff. So we already knew like the SAOCOM mission had a massive impact because a lot of the people on that mission were from Europe and couldn't be, on site because of the travel restrictions and stuff like that. So, yeah. So there we go. And we should mention that the Starlink satellites, Elon was talking about it a little bit on Twitter today or last night or something, about the brightness of them. I should probably pull that up here. Give me 1 second. I'll talk about this because this is definitely a hot topic. Very spicy. Everyone wants to know about the brightness of them, me included. Let's see. So this was, okay. So, let's go back to this. So I asked. So basically, people were saying, this all started with Third Row Tesla podcast, which I was a guest on this week. So definitely make sure and listen to this week's episode for Third Row Tesla podcast. I was a guest, talked all about a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. We talked for like an hour and a half. It was super fun. Let's see. They asked, good luck with Starlink. He said, thanks. We are taking some key steps to reduce satellite brightness, by the way. Should be much less noticeable during orbit rays by changing solar panel angle, and all sats get sunshade starting with launch 9. So in 3 more launches, all the future satellites will have a sunshade. Then Viv Falcon Heavy says, Starlink sats in orbit so far, 360. Starlink sats launched today, 6. So basically 420 satellites in total. And then he said, so basically it's actually 422 because there's still the Tintin A and Tintin B. And he actually is deorbiting. They are deorbiting Tintin A and Tintin B, so there will be 420. And I asked then, is there a reason they've been brighter? I've seen so many people all of a sudden reporting, friends calling me, seeing Starlink out of nowhere. It seems like they went from no one knew what it was to I'm seeing it everywhere. All of a sudden, people spotting it all over Europe, spotting it all the time. And I asked if there's a reason they've been brighter or more noticeable lately. I feel like tons of people are spotting them all of a sudden, and it went fairly unnoticed before. And Elon said, solar panel angle during orbit rays / park. We're fixing it now. So I'm guessing that, and Prane has this, I don't remember who actually made this animation here, but it looks like Elias probably. Which might explain why. But Elon kind of kept talking about it. And so I'm very interested to see that potentially the brightness could come down, which is a very, very good thing because we obviously don't want those to impact astronomy and astronomical observations, ground-based observations, and things like that. So it is a concern when you're going to have like 40,000 satellites up in the sky. You want to make sure that they're not ruining the night sky either. So good to see that they're working on some of the mitigation there. So let me answer some of your guys' questions here. Just double checking. They also talked about, that's right, Elon also did talk about the engine failing. Remember how last ascent they actually had, why do I keep doing that? I am out of practice. Yuri at your fave gas asked, can you tell us what happened with Merlin on last Starlink mission? This booster is flying with its fifth as well after all. This flying its 4th mission. Elon said there's a small amount of isopropyl alcohol, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, cleaning fluid, which was trapped in a sensor dead leg and ignited in flight. So we have the answer as to what happened on that Merlin during ascent. It seems, I don't quite know, like, how do they avoid that in the future? How did it not get spotted? How has it not happened before? Seems like that'd be a pretty common thing, would be to be using a cleaning fluid, obviously, before flight. But I assume that now that they're aware of it, they have developed procedures to make sure that doesn't exist again. That's the whole thing with the beauty of having 9 engines like this and flying so often is you find new failure modes, you find new problems, you find new solutions. And yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about this whole ordeal. So yeah, I'm gonna have this kind of pulled up in the background. I feel like I should say hi to you guys. I'm gonna make sure I'm listening in just in case. Sounds like they may have pushed the launch back 10 minutes. Not a big deal. Yeah. Hi Discord, by the way. I've been talking to the Discord channel way too much lately because I've been working 12 or 14-hour days. Here, I should just show you guys what I'm working on. I am ridiculous. I promise this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Look at this. This is what a 1 hour and 20-minute long video, all with my face in it, all about whether or not if NASA can use Starship instead of SLS. We're going to go over every little detail on even like the inventory on the vehicles. So how much has been built for each program, where they're at, the differences in philosophies for these two vehicles because they're quite different. The overall, could NASA actually consider using something like Starship for the Artemis program? And it's a huge rabbit hole, but it's a really important thing that I really wanted to cover and do justice on because it's nuanced and it's one of the most debated things on the internet right now is, oh, SLS is so expensive and why are they even bothering? Why don't they just cancel it? Yada, yada, yada. And of course, and then skeptics of Starship will say things like, it just keeps blowing up. They can't even fuel it up. They can't even get it off the pad. It's a joke. And there's a happy medium there. And there's a lot of information showing the two programs and how SLS is where it's at and the Artemis program. And then where, how, and why Starship is where it's at with its development and program too. So it's going to be it's an hour and 17 minutes long, but I wanted to really, really, really make it as comprehensive as possible. So I even got down to the point where I figured out how much money it costs per minute on the moon for the Apollo program versus the Artemis program even. So it's kind of going through, are we making an improvement with the Artemis program compared to 50 years ago with the Apollo program? Some of the pros and the cons and the way that the program's set up these days compared to before, some of the safety considerations, and then how Starship and or the commercial partners are playing into that entire program. Yeah, it's a beefy video, and it's going to be great. And everyone always asks, why don't you break it up into parts? Well, you guys are the problem. The viewers don't watch parts. I'll have a video with 3 parts, and part 2 will have the most views by 3 times. And the problem is you really need, for this video, for this in-depth of a topic that's so hotly debated, you need to have the context. You need to understand the history. You need to understand the current progress. You need to understand the philosophies. You need to understand the limitations. You need to understand the certifications. You need to understand the physical, like hardware, and all of that stuff, the budgets, the way the budgets work, the way the budget works for the taxpayer, the way the budget works for NASA. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. And I don't want to just make it some like, here's what I think. I think Starship, shiny rocket good, orange rocket bad. Like, I don't want to just do something like that. I want to make sure that I'm diving in as deep as I can so I know how it all works, so that you guys can know how it all works. And that's kind of the whole point of everything I do. So yeah, so get ready for that because it's going to be a very, 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 very spicy video. Let's get to some of your guys' questions. First off, thank you, the Fallen Ones, for becoming a member. You're awesome. Stefan, just watch your podcast with Third Row. Awesome. Hey, good. That's awesome. I'm really excited. I don't know if it became public quite yet. You must be a supporter of theirs. So thanks for watching. It was a lot of fun talking with them. Henning, absolutely, let's go. And it's Snoopy, hi, how's it going? Adam from the UK, thanks for everything. You're welcome, Adam. Innocent Raptor, how's it going? Best remedy for a crappy day at work, a rocket launch. Absolutely. And good news is it looks like we're going to have some stuff going on here in the background, which is great. Let me make sure we are ready to go here. We'll just put this up over there for now. We'll unmute it and give us a little bit of background music. Thanks to Test Shot Starfish. Okay, go away, thing. Go away, thing. YouTube problems. Hey, get back here. It's like it's my first show ever. Okay, and thanks, Innocent Raptor, for saying hi. Kyle, thanks for Kyle Earth C137. Thanks for the membership. Let's see. Let's make sure we're still going good. HD Intalk. Why do I only stream SpaceX launches? What other launch providers? What about other launch providers, Roscosmos and Ariane? No, I don't just stream SpaceX launches. I stream ULA, Blue Origin, Rocket Lab. You're right. I have not streamed Roscosmos or Ariane launches, and there's a reason for it. The biggest reason is that I'm honestly not as familiar with those programs. The reason that I cover what I cover is those are things that I've done really in-depth videos on. I have a deep understanding of the programs, of the hardware. I can talk casually, like when someone asks a question, I feel comfortable answering those questions because there's something that I've actually studied, spent a lot of time in. I'm working right now, one of the next videos we're going to be doing, thanks to some Patreon members who have been helping with this. We're doing is it Roadkill? Is that who's been helping me a bunch with it? But we're doing a rundown on all of the Russian engines and the lineage. It's going to be a family tree of Russian engines. I think something like that will be a good stepping stone. I think I'm ready to start covering Roscosmos launches. And then someday I definitely need to do, I think when Ariane 6 is getting closer to being online, I'll do a history of the Ariane programs. Yes, Ghost Rider, absolutely. So thanks for Ghost Rider for the help. It's going to be cool. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's the reason why. I just don't want to be the person that's out there. I don't think I have the best knowledge of anything. I definitely don't have the best knowledge of those particular programs, for sure, like not even close. And I just want to make sure I'm at least prepared mentally and have enough knowledge to be able to speak about something that I'm publicly speaking about it. I don't know. That's the main reason. So there we go. Hopefully that answers your question, but stand by. Someday I will be doing that. So yeah. Okay, boop, 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 boop. Susan, thanks for the membership. Lee, what does SpaceX charge itself to take its satellites up? Well, that's kind of a good question. I don't honestly know how it really works internally. It is considered part of there is not likely going to be another company branching out of Starlink. So for now, I think it's just considered a cost to SpaceX. Like it's just a cost. It's not like they charge themselves for it. I don't really know how that'd work accounting wise, but I'm definitely not an accountant. That's for sure. And Derek, let's see, because I got to shrink here and we'll listen in here pretty soon. West Central Europe may see the launch. Oh, cool. Yes, go to flightclub.io/live. Good call. Yes, go to flightclub.io, especially UK, France, Germany, Austria, Czech Republic. Check out if it's going to fly over you. You might actually be able to see it. Let's tune in here.
Afternoon. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, and you are looking at a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 3:31 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Hello from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. My name is Lauren Lyons, and I'm an engineer on the Starlink team here at SpaceX, and you are watching a live webcast for our 7th Starlink mission and our 7th mission this year. To date, we've launched over 360 Starlink satellites to orbit, and as a reminder, Starlink is a constellation of satellites that can provide high-speed, low-latency internet across the globe, particularly in remote areas where connectivity is limited or completely unavailable. The Falcon 9 booster that you see on your screen will be flying today for the 4th time. It previously supported Crew Dragon's first demonstration mission to the International Space Station back in March of 2019, the launch of the RadarSat constellation mission in June 2019, and the January 2020 launch of the Starlink mission. Just like our first stages, we are also starting to reuse our fairings. Today we are flying a reused fairing which previously flew on the Amos 17 mission last year. I mentioned that this booster flew on Crew Dragon's first demonstration mission to the space station, and if you follow SpaceX, you know the date for our second demo mission is May 27th. It'll be a historic mission launching American astronauts from U.S. soil to the International Space Station for the first time since 2011, and we'll touch on that more later on in the broadcast. If for any reason there is a hold on the countdown today, we do have a backup launch window opportunity tomorrow at 3:16 p.m. Eastern. So with that, all systems are go for an on-time liftoff this evening. Now, you may recall during our last Starlink mission, there was an early engine shutdown on Falcon 9's first stage during ascent. The Falcon 9 booster safely completed its mission as it was designed to in the event of an engine shutdown and delivered the satellites to their intended orbit. Since then, our engineers determined that the issue stemmed from a small amount of isopropyl alcohol, which is a cleaning fluid, that became trapped inside of a sensor dead leg, or an area where it couldn't flow through, and then it ignited. We did not perform that cleaning process on the rocket supporting today's mission, and all 9 Merlin engines, which were test fired on the pad just last week, are looking healthy ahead of flight. Prior to today's launch, the vehicle was housed in our hangar at Launch Complex 39A until about 24 hours ago, when the rocket, along with the Starlink payload, was rolled out to the pad and raised vertical. The bottom 2/3 of the vehicle that you can see there, that is the first stage. You can actually see the soot markings left over from its last flight. The first stage is what accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to the edge of space with the help of 9 Merlin engines at the base of the rocket. Today we'll be attempting to recover the first stage for the 4th time on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which you can see there. And it's currently stationed about 350 nautical miles northeast off the Cape. Above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry the Starlink satellites into an elliptical orbit above the Earth's surface. From there, they'll use their propulsion systems to move up to their operational altitude of 550 kilometers. Falcon 9 began loading propellants at T-minus 35 minutes. And as a reminder, we use a rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, as our fuel, and super chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, as our oxidizer to power the Falcon 9. Currently, RP1 and LOX are nearly fully loaded on both stages, and LOX will continue to be topped off right up until the last minute of the countdown. The stack of 60 Starlink satellites is safely enclosed inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which you can see there, that pointed cone at the very top of the rocket. This protects the satellites from aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we will jettison the fairing as the second stage continues on its journey to orbit. We won't be attempting to catch the fairing halves in our nets today, as our boat and fairing software are undergoing upgrades, but weather permitting, we will try to recover them from the water using our recovery ships Miss Tree and Miss Chief. And there's a live view from one of those ships. So as you can see, the water is looking a little rough, so stay tuned. Now, if you've been tracking the lead up to today's launch, you know that the weather has been a watch item for the last several days, with tornado warnings moving through the area. Our rocket and payload, however, were in the hangar as the storm passed, so we didn't see any adverse impacts as a result of that weather. And today, it's looking like a beautiful day for a launch. So with that, the vehicles, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now.
Good news. I actually have some friends that are able to still attend this launch with extra precautions and extra safety measures. Members of the press are actually considered essential.
As I mentioned at the top of the webcast, SpaceX and NASA are now targeting May 27 for Falcon 9's launch of Crew Dragon's second demonstration mission, or Demo 2 as we like to call it. This will be the first time that a commercially built spacecraft will launch people to the space station, and the first time in nearly 10 years that the U.S. has launched astronauts into space from U.S. soil. Demo 2 is an end-to-end flight test from launch to docking to splashdown, and it is the final major milestone for SpaceX's human spaceflight system to be certified for NASA for operational crew missions to and from the International Space Station. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley will be the first 2 NASA astronauts to fly aboard Crew Dragon after completing countless hours of training, both at SpaceX and at NASA's training facilities. Both the spacecraft and the launch vehicle are at the Cape and undergoing preparations, and as you may have seen on social, Falcon 9 is getting a special paint job for the Demo 2 mission. That's right, NASA has brought back the famous worm logo. As you can see the logo painted on the Demo 2 Falcon 9 booster in this picture. The worm was brought back to mark the return of human spaceflight on American rockets from American soil with the Demo 2 mission. Once Demo 2 is complete, And the SpaceX and NASA teams have reviewed all the data for certification. NASA astronauts Victor Glover, Mike Hopkins, Shannon Walker, and Jackson astronaut Soichi Naguchi have been assigned to fly on Dragon's first 6-month operational mission, which we are calling Crew 1 and are targeting for later this year. So we are currently just over 4 minutes away from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is moving into the final stages of the countdown. The first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen.
Yep. I feel like I want to mention,
It's a clear, beautiful, gorgeous day out there. The first stage should finish prop loading at T-minus 3 minutes, and the second stage at T-minus 2 minutes. And as I mentioned earlier, liquid oxygen is going to continue to top off. Stage at T-minus 2 minutes. And as I mentioned earlier, liquid oxygen is going to continue to top off up until just before liftoff. At T-minus 60 seconds, be sure to listen for the call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. That means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. The Starlink payload continues to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is looking really good, and the range is green for launch. So with all that, let's just sit back and listen in to the last few minutes of the countdown.
Sweet. Okay, I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit of a rundown here too. First off, remember, especially when we see the vehicle close out, we're going to see some condensation, additional condensation coming off of the rocket. That's totally normal. It's because if you were to go up and touch, especially, there's basically 2 little tanks inside of every main body. Inside all of, there's 2 tanks in the top part and 2 bigger tanks in the bottom on the first stage. And each half has a liquid fuel and a liquid oxidizer. And liquid oxygen is very cold, like minus 200 degrees centigrade. And so if you were to go up and touch, especially so you can see where it's white as opposed to black on that first stage, that segment there where the condensation is pouring off, if you went up and touched the rocket right now, your hand would freeze to the rocket because it is so cold. So what you're seeing is almost the same thing as like a freezer opening on a humid day. You're seeing the condensation turn into little ice chunks, little ice particles, and or you're seeing the water vapor in the air evaporate and turn in, or not evaporate, but freeze off into little tiny ice particles. And that's why it looks like it's kind of smoking or steaming right now. It's actually really, really cold, beyond freezing cold. So it's super cool. I think now is a good time to point out that it does appear that the pointy end is up and the flamey end is down. You are welcome. I don't know what you guys would do without me. Man, important stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about here, and I'll get back to the rest of you guys' questions here after stage separation. I'll probably stick around for a little bit. We have a lot to talk about, I feel like. I probably should let you guys know if you need more stuff from me, because I know that my videos take forever, trust me. I know that an hour and 15-minute long video is becoming full-length documentary territory. But if you need more from me, every single week I do a podcast, and I tell you guys all your space news that you need to know. It is called Our Ludicrous Future. There's a link in the description. It's here on YouTube. It's also a podcast. So if you want your space news from me, go to Our Ludicrous Future. I think you can go to olfpod.com. I think that's one of the things we have. But if you want just like space news and other futurism and EV talk, yeah, you can go listen to that every single week. But here we go. We're down to the final minute, so I'm going to listen into the counts because these are always pretty fun. And yeah, and I will let you guys know here. I'll answer the rest of your guys' questions.
For launch.
They're gonna knock this one out of the park.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
It's like it hasn't even...
Falcon 9 switching down range.
Okay. Deep breath.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
It's unusual audio today. Not ideal, but that's okay. It's a good tracking shot there. Sounds like we're mostly hearing the pad camera right now.
Power and telemetry nominal.
As you can see, Falcon 9 has had a successful liftoff from pad 39A. Moments ago, we throttled the engines down and we'll throttle back up just in a second for preparation for Max Q. Max Q stands for maximum aerodynamic pressure, which are the highest stresses that the vehicle will see during ascent.
Maximum aerodynamic pressure.
I think we were hearing the pad camera still, so we were hearing...
Now, coming up in about a minute, we will have 3 events happening back to back. First is main engine cutoff, or MECO. This is where all 9 M1D engines will shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for the second event, which is stage separation. This is where the second stage will separate from the first stage, with stage 1 making its way back down to Earth for landing, and stage 2 kicking off that third event that I mentioned, which is SES1, or second engine start 1. This is where the MVAC engine will light up and propel the second stage along with the Starlink satellites to orbit. Expecting MECO to occur in about 30 seconds.
I love watching the plume just get more and more expanded. It's still one of my favorite things. If you guys want to know why that happens, watch my video about aerospike engines. I talk about expansion ratios and overexpansion and underexpansion a lot in that video. It's an hour long, so you have plenty to watch while you're sitting in quarantine. But yeah, aerospike video. Watch that.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Okay.
Successful MECO. Successful stage step. And it appears we have reignited or ignited that second stage engine for SES1.
Sweet. Camera's overexposed. Not a big deal.
And we're just a few seconds from fairing deploy. Again, this fairing has flown before on a previous mission.
So hopefully it deploys okay. That's obviously important.
Grid fins are opening up.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Sweet.
And we have fairing separation. We have successfully reused this fairing. Now those halves are making their way back down to the sea where hopefully we can scoop them up.
Sweet. Okay. It's looking good.
So on the left side of your screen you have stage 1, which is making its way down to the drone ship. And on the right you have stage 2, that MVAC engine burning with 250,000 pounds of thrust.
The
Grid
webcast
fins
audio
appear to be fully deployed at this point. Now while stage 2 continues on with the primary mission, stage 1's got its own plans. It's going to execute 2 burns prior to landing. The first is the entry burn. That's where we will reignite 3 of the M1D engines, which will help slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere. Shortly thereafter, we'll have a second burn, which we call the landing burn. This is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle's velocity down rapidly in order to land safely on the drone ship. At the same time, during that burn, you'll see the landing legs that are currently folded up along the side of the rocket are going to deploy.
There's that ring of ice.
MVAC is looking good right now.
The bad luck ring.
It looks a little overexposed on that image there, but we can still see the plume coming out, and we're still hearing good data.
This booster's going to land fine, and it's going to prove that
While we're
bad
2
luck ring
minutes
of
away
ice.
from entry burn, just a note on these Starlink satellites. These 60 will be joining the constellation that's already on orbit. As we mentioned, we've launched more than 360 satellites. And again, these are to provide high-speed, low-latency internet to people down on that globe that you see on the right side of your screen.
Yeah, for reference, I think almost all of the landing failures as of lately with a Block 5 booster, we've seen that ring of ice kind of like fall away from the grid fin there. I'm sure it's just total happenstance. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the failure. I'm sure it's, causation is not correlation, it's correlation is not causation. I'm sure it has nothing to do with anything, but I do feel like it is almost a bad luck thing. So hopefully this booster lands fine and proves that it has nothing to do with anything, and that indeed it's just whatever, some oxygen ice chunks get stuck in a certain thing on ascent, and then when the grid fins open up, it becomes untrapped or something, and that just happens. Yeah. By the way, just a quick heads up, the audio is a little different from the official stream today. So if you're struggling to kind of hear, I think it's because they can only have one person in the control room running the show right now, as opposed to the normal team of people that runs the show. So I definitely have some empathy there. So let's listen in.
Okay, that entry burn should be coming up here in about 15 seconds. Meanwhile, stage 2 continues on as planned.
You gotta see them stick a landing. Starlink has been hard for them to land lately.
Stage 1, entry burn, startup.
Stage 1 FTS is safe.
This burn goes for about 20 seconds. Four engines burning at once right
Stage
now.
2 continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
Oh, I guess there are 4 engines burning at once. There's 3 on the first stage.
Stage 1, entry burn,
stage.
shutdown.
That looks more normal.
All right, successful shutdown of that entry burn. Meanwhile, stage 2 is looking great.
Look at how fast it's coming in. You can see the clouds. Oh, that's cool. Oh, man. Can you imagine being on that? We will see a loss of signal on the first stage on the left. Yep. Plasma does build up as the vehicle's re-entering the atmosphere.
All right, full screen shine here.
Don't forget, when you see the plasma, it's not because of friction from the air. It's literally because the air it can't get out of the way fast enough for the booster, so it gets pushed and compressed really hot. So hot, it turns into plasma. So so that's what you see when you see that re-entry marks and stuff like that. It's because, yeah, the air gets so compressed, gets so squeezed together that it turns into hot plasma. So, and that plasma then interferes with the ability to send an uplink or send a downlink. There's no downlink really available there, so it is trying to go up to or back to, yeah.
Throttle down. Getting ready for that second engine cutoff.
Okay. Here we go.
Stage 1, landing burn, startup.
Entering terminal guidance.
All right, that landing burn has started. Let's see if we can see the plume in the view from the drone ship.
Okay, come on. Oh, there we go. Stuff's moving off the drone ship. That was a good sign.
Stage 1, landing leg deploy.
Stage 2 FTS is safe.
Yes,
There
yes.
it is.
Yes, please. It's looking good. That
Let's
looks
see.
pretty good. As long as it's still.
We have cheers. We have a rocket.
Yes.
Awesome. This is the 4th landing for this booster. And as you can hear, everybody here is super stoked to see it there. It's great. Gorgeous day. Gorgeous rocket.
And we even caught a real quick glimpse of the liquid oxygen stage on the second stage.
Stage 2. And we are in a good orbit as well.
Nominal orbital insertion.
All right, so now stage 2 is going to coast in this orbit for a few minutes, and during this time, the stage will actually start to
LOS
spin around
key
its central
expected.
axis, which gives the Starlink satellites the momentum that they need in order to space themselves out over time after they deploy. We're going to take a quick break and come back here at T plus 14 minutes.
Okay, and that's why we watch together here, people, because we can still hang out. I can answer some of your questions. And notice that we kept getting a little tiny glimpse of the the liquid oxygen tank. That's what the little thing was. Hang on, let me turn my headphones down just so I can concentrate. That's what that shot is that you'd see occasionally, where it's like this blue circle. I could probably just rewind quick and show you guys, and we can pause on it for a second. Let's see. There we go. There we go. I forget how do you go frame per frame? I forget. Someone tell me. How do you toggle frame to frame? There's like a key. I don't remember. That's what I was trying. I was trying to use comma and it wasn't working. Maybe it is. Oh, it is. There we go. Sorry, it is comma. I was like, it's not working. It's frame for frame. So they don't intend to show this picture because there's potentially some intellectual property. They probably shouldn't just be talking about it too much either because it's not intended to be on screen. But you do see this is the shot of the liquid oxygen tank. So what you're seeing floating around there residually is liquid oxygen, and it's just really cool. They have to illuminate it so you can see in there. You can see the composite overwrap pressure vessels here that store helium and nitrogen. Inert gas for the gas thrusters, and it's a really cool shot. Yeah, beautiful, right? Okay, I'm gonna put this back into the live time. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, so let me answer some of your guys' questions here. Henning, thanks for the membership. Kyle, you're welcome. I think I said that. Okay, Henrik, good question. With the current oil crisis, will it not be exceptionally cheap for SpaceX to fly and reuse Falcon 9 in the future? I would think there might be an impact on the cost of launch. I mean, now don't forget, the fuel of a Falcon 9 rocket is only something like $200,000. I think Elon said that a couple times. So it's marginal compared to the $20 million. We're only talking, a little small fraction of the cost of the vehicle, 1%. So at best they're saving, if it's half price, they're saving 0.5%. I mean, it's not totally, worthless or anything, but it's definitely not the biggest concern, but it does help. Anything like that helps with their margins, helps potentially increase their profitability, or in this case, helps bring down the cost of launching their own satellites. So yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I don't know how much they buy in bulk and how much the price of crude oil affects RP1, rocket propellant 1, which is a highly refined kerosene. It's actually a higher refined gas than Jet A, which is what jetliners use. So I don't exactly know what the direct correlation would be between the price of crude oil and how soon it would take for it to affect the cost of launches, but it is probably some kind of factor. Kristen, thanks for the membership. Bailey, we've got some great views of Starlink in the UK. Yes, that's what I've been seeing so many people in the UK lately telling me that they're seeing Starlink and seeing tons of pictures. I had a friend in Minneapolis who was freaking out because they're just sitting out there and all of a sudden they're just seeing it. They saw a whole sky. I think they saw like 40 some of the Starlink satellites go overhead. Yeah, I haven't caught it myself. I also have not been outside almost at all in the past month. I literally haven't hardly left here. I probably smell terrible. Yeah. So there you go. Happy hacking video blog. Cheers from Sao Paulo. Awesome. Thank you for saying hi. Extreme Vision. Thanks for the membership. Where did it go? I hate when it jumps like that every time. Michael, can't wait for you to stream launching 1,000 starships to Mars. 3 per day equals 1. 3 per day equals 1 per hour equals 334 days of launches. That would be insane. Okay, it looks like they're coming back here. I'm going to...
So far, we have had a successful mission thus far. We've had it at stage 1, ascent and landing. And stage 2 got the Starlink satellites into a good orbit and is now coasting and getting ready for deployment of those Starlink satellites. So we're going to listen in for the call out. It should come in about 30 seconds or so. We won't be able to see that right at that moment. We'll cut to the shot of the satellites deploying a little bit later, but in about 20 seconds we should hear the call out.
Yeah, they don't want to show the actual deployment because I think it is something that pretty closely guarded secret for them on how exactly they do that. Which is pretty cool. There's some tension rods that deploy and then 60 satellites just kind of unfold like a deck of cards. So that's what we're about to see. I don't know. Yeah, hopefully everything. They have to spin the stage like this, like long way, and then they just let go of the satellites. Sweet.
Okay, we just heard the call out for payload deploy. Now, as the satellites begin to separate, over time, they're going to open up their solar array, and over the next, oh, there they go. All right, that's those 60 Starlink satellites.
So crazy.
Look at that cool glow around them. Wow. Now, shortly after, as I was saying, after just coming up in the next, few hours or so, we're going to see the solar arrays deploy. And over the next days and weeks, the satellites will begin to distance themselves away from one another and use their onboard ion thrusters to make their way to their operational orbit of 550 kilometers. Sorry, that image just is always so beautiful and catches me each time. Now, with that, it brings our webcast to a close. We'd like to thank the 45th Space Wing for providing range safety today and the FAA for licensing today's launch. You can follow our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. So until next time, be well, and we'll see you next launch.
Sweet. All right. We still got more questions to answer and stuff, so let's just file this away. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. That always means a lot, especially right now, just knowing that there's people out there. I did want to show you guys, we're actually working on some new merchandise. Our shop is working on some cloth masks that we're going to be giving to aerospace companies at wholesale costs. We're also going to be giving them away with orders for wholesale costs starting, I believe, next week. I work with a company. It's a close friend of mine. He's from my hometown, runs a print shop, print and sewing, and they do all of the things hand done here in California. Well, not here in California. I live in Iowa. He lives in California. And they have been now making masks, medical masks. Well, not medical, sorry, but cloth masks, as recommended by the CDC. So we are going to be making some. I don't have the design to show you quite yet. I probably could pull it up. It's super cool, but it's actually just the hatch warning that is on the International Space Station that says like do not open. I should find it because it's super cool. Let me see here. I don't know where I can easily find this, to be honest, though. It's like, here we go. The problem is I don't think if I drag it onto the screen, I don't think you'll be able to see it. But let me try no, I don't even know how to do that in OBS right now. Anyway, it says, warning, failure to equalize pressure before unlatching can result in crew injury and equipment damage. And it's literally just the exact label that they have on the ISS that we'll be putting on a black mask for you guys. And that's, as a friendly reminder to please stay safe and please stay healthy because we're all in this together. This is one of those weird uniting moments as humans where we're all experiencing something very unusual. But we are, so we will have those up in the shop next week. But meanwhile, we do have some shirts. The Aerospike shirt is currently still for sale because we still have a massive inventory of them. Not a huge. We're actually getting down lower. I'm probably going to change that price. That'll be going back to normal. But yeah, so everydayastronaut.com/shop. These, I believe, the full flow hoodies are sold out because I think we only have like 2 left or something, and triple XL, because we are going to a new design that will be launching, I think, is next week as well too, or in the next couple weeks. So stand by for that. And then and if you can go to rapid unscheduled discounts. These are the things that are on sale. So you can go to there, everydayastronaut.com/shop, and that of course helps me continue to do what I do. And I always appreciate you guys' help, and it's a fun way to get some nerdy stuff for yourself that is also helps me do what I do. So thank you guys for your support. You guys are awesome. And speaking of support, let me get back to some of your guys' questions here. Let's see. Okay, so Michael, you asked about launching 1,000 Starships. By the time Starship is launching as regular as airplanes or anywhere near that, 1,000 Mars, I mean, by that point, once it's anything near, I'm almost struggling to keep up, or at one point I was nervous about struggling to keep up with just Starlink launches. If Starship becomes like a thing that's just 10 times a day, no big deal, then yeah, I will be changing what I'm capable of launching, and there's no way I'd be able to keep up with that, obviously. 3 times a day, I'm not just going to sit there and watch. It'd be like going to an airport and just filming airplanes taking off and trying to cover that live constantly. I obviously can't do that. So at some point, it will become so routine that it'll just be like, all right, well, I guess it's not even worth talking about anymore. But that'll be a little while. But it's an exciting future to think about. Respect Tech, thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you for the membership. And Respect Tech too. Adnan says, what do you think will happen to OneWeb satellites? I don't know. I've been kind of waiting to hear what exactly is going to be happening with OneWeb. So OneWeb was another space constellation that just launched some satellites like earlier this year, and they filed for bankruptcy, which has happened to them before, I think, actually. Yeah, so I'm kind of waiting to hear more about it. I've just sort of, yeah. Who knows? It's a competitive place, and honestly, right now, if I was a global constellation network, I would be crapping my pants if I saw Starlink coming online, because Starlink, think about it, they're making their own satellites, so therefore they don't have to pay someone else to make satellites and then, pay for their profit off those. They're launching their own satellites, so again, they don't have to pay a provider to launch the satellites on a vehicle where they have to make a profit off it too. And besides that, SpaceX already has the cheapest launch costs and are reusing hardware to the point of being like hilariously cheap, because it's deferred costs over all those launches. So the hardware is becoming so insanely cheap for them to launch. So I mean, if I was trying to make a global internet constellation right now, I would be crapping my pants at the sight of Starlink. So yeah. Good question though. BMW 1000C. Keep doing this, my dude. Much love. Thank you so much. Wayne from Bama, thanks for the membership. Ethan, when is the commercial crew going to launch? That will be launching already in a month and 5 days. It's currently scheduled for May 27th. And I have my press credentials in for that launch with NASA. They are limiting who is going to be able to attend in person due to the pandemic. So I will have to wait and see whether or not I am one of those accepted people, basically. And that will determine where I am on May 27th. And if I do go, I will have to take extreme precautions. I will probably drive by myself, obviously, and wear a mask and gloves and social distancing, yada, yada, yada. I honestly am a little bit nervous about it because I'm trying to take extreme caution. We are having an outbreak in my county right now, Blackhawk County in Iowa. So yay. So I'm just, I don't know. That's why I literally haven't left my apartment, just trying to be socially responsible. And yeah, trying to not get sick myself, of course, and if you get sick, then of course it affects anyone potentially in your area. So yeah. Yeah, there we go. Mouse Mac, will I cover ESA's EXO rover launch landing? Yes, that for sure would do. And that got pushed though to 2022. If I understand right. Yeah, I that's definitely one I'd have to do. And I need to do more, again, some of those big giant top missions, the ones that are really exciting, like ExoMars. I should have been doing Schiaparelli lander and things like that too. So I intend to do that, and maybe by that time I'll have a video out about the launch vehicle and some of that type of stuff. So yeah, good question, and thanks, Mouse Mac. Amy Donk, thank you. Marcus A380, keep up the great content. Thank you very much. I'm working on it, I promise. Jonathan, is it possible to recover the second stage of Falcon 9 using the in-air helicopter catch? Good question. I have an older video. It's quite a lot older, and it's quite embarrassing by today's standards for what I like to try to produce, that talks about why it's so much harder to recover the second stage than the first stage. The biggest thing is the reentry heating. The difference in velocity between the first stage and the second stage is about 4 times. The second stage ends up going about 4 times faster than the first stage. The first stage already has to slow down by 50%, basically has to cut its velocity in half. So say from 4,000, I'm just going to make up some numbers. Say 17,000, say from 4,000 kilometers an hour down to 2,000 or so in order to really be able to survive reentry. Reentry heating goes up by the cube of velocity squared. So in other words, it goes up by the cube of velocity, so not squared. So reentry heating goes up by the cube of velocity. So if you double your velocity, your experience heating on the vehicle goes up 8 times. So if you go up 4 times, so if you go from 4,000 kilometers to 16,000 kilometers an hour, your entry heating ends up being about 64 times greater. And if you were to slow down enough to make it survivable, like the Falcon 9, you'd have to spend as much delta V to slow yourself down as you did to launch in the first place, almost, or relatively close, what would it be, 15/16 of the amount of velocity or whatever. You basically without massive heat shielding or an ablative heat shield or some wings, some aero surfaces, all of those things, an aluminum airframe will almost not hold up unless you do something like the space shuttle's thermal tiles and things like that. And every single kilogram that you add to the second stage, you have to subtract directly from your payload. And this is different from the first stage. I was talking to Peter Beck, the CEO of Rocket Lab, about payload penalties, and he was saying on the Electron vehicle, for every kilogram they add to the first stage, it only subtracts about 1/8. So you could add 8 kilograms to the first stage, and that would detract 1 kilogram from your payload capability. The Falcon 9, I've heard, is closer to, probably because of propulsive landing, is closer to 1/4. So if you add 4 kilograms to the first stage, it ends up detracting 1 kilogram from your upper stage. So when you think about landing legs, blah, 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 grid fins, all those types of things. The second stage, though, is a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you add 2,000 kilograms of recovery hardware, probably a lot more than that, you have to subtract 2,000 kilograms from your payload potential. And it just, yeah, it works. Yeah. You should probably watch that old video, even though it sucks, but it is a really interesting topic. And that's why Starship is so different. And it makes no sense financially for them to pursue any further iterations of Falcon 9 because it's maxed out, and compared to having a fully reusable vehicle like Starship with the capability Starship is capable of, it'd be not worth the time, money, and development to even put it at all into the Falcon 9. Like, they are all in on Starship development, and they should be, because Starship, once it's fully developed and fully operational, will make any other efforts by any other of their previous rockets seem like a total waste of time. So that's the biggest thing. And it takes a massive, massive, massive redesign. Different construction material, again, stainless steel, and they're going to be using those tough rock or turf rock or whatever they are, heat shield tiles and things like that. So yeah, it's and then as far as the stage would be probably close enough in size to be able to physically recover with a helicopter, which has advantages over a ship. You have more time by a helicopter. I think, again, Peter Beck, in a recent interview I had with him, because Rocket Lab's working on recovering their booster with a helicopter. And he mentioned that they have, I think, 10 to 15 minutes or something of hang time between the parachute deploying, and they have about 10 minutes to fly around and try to catch it out of the sky before it hits the water. Obviously, that's different than a ship. The fairing catching boats basically only have an instantaneous moment when the fairing gets to that point and lands on the boat. Otherwise, they don't have 10 minutes to grab it with a helicopter. Of course, you're going to ask, why can't they grab it with a helicopter? I have a video about that too. I have a big, can Rocket Lab really catch a booster, falling from the sky with a helicopter? And why didn't SpaceX do that with any of their rockets or with their fairings? The biggest reason, though, with fairings is, can you imagine, those things you can fit a school bus in them, and they're huge, and they're basically, they're very, very, very lightweight. They're basically a giant wing. And can you imagine swooping up that wing with a helicopter with a rotor wash and someone flying it, or even a drone, and the aerodynamic effects that's going to have as you're trying to tow this thing that's bigger than your helicopter, that's extremely lightweight and a huge aerodynamic surface? Yeah, no thank you. It would be putting human lives at risk and very, very, very hard to control. So, yeah. Let's see. Great question, though. Sorry, that was like a 10-minute rant on stuff that I've covered in other videos. But just be sure and go through some of my older videos. I answer a lot of those questions. I like to tackle those types of questions and go down those rabbit holes of why, or why don't they just? And we do that each week, too, on Our Ludicrous Future, which I just have a great time doing. So, Saliso, the birth of new age is upon us. Engaged to infinity and beyond. Absolutely. Yeah, we really are, I think, at the beginning of something unbelievably exciting here, and we're just witnessing the steps along the way, and it's awesome. Plastic Pinocchio. NASA is delusional. They want to establish a permanent human outpost cheaply on the moon, but they're doing it using an obsolete rocket that costs in excess of $1 billion per launch. Thoughts on this? By the way, nice work as always. Plastic, I understand your sentiment. Trust me. That's why I'm doing this video. Like I said, it's an hour and 15-minute long video basically about SLS, why it exists, why it continues to exist, and why NASA doesn't shift to something like Starship for the Artemis program. And the long answer short is, frankly, to get to the moon by 2024 and start laying down infrastructure and start really getting some things tested, like in situ resource utilization, start testing out long-term stays on the moon. I think if I were NASA right now, you would be silly, frankly, not to use SLS and Orion. Spoiler alert. And that's because those vehicles are done. Like, they're physically done and ready to go, and certified. That's the biggest thing. As far as NASA is concerned, Starship, as it currently stands, is a TRL, technology readiness level of somewhere between 3 to 6, depending on the components, out of a scale of 9. And until it flies and fully is demonstrating all of its capabilities, including orbit, obviously, in orbit refueling, and landing on the moon, and re-entering from the moon at that high velocity, and then all that stuff, and then to certify it for human use, just there's no way NASA would be okay with that by 2024 or 2025 or probably even 20. Think about how long it took just to certify the Dragon capsule for use. You know, the Dragon capsule is and this is not to say, oh, they can't even do it. It's to say, look at how hard it is. People forget how hard it is to really go through the stringent certification to make sure humans are safe going to the moon. And think about, we're lucky in the Apollo era that we didn't lose anyone on the way to the moon and back. We almost did with Apollo 13. We had some close calls, and really their risk assessment was like 50-50 basically. We don't do that today. And maybe that's the topic, is like, is NASA too risk averse these days? But we just don't do that these days. And that's why the Artemis mission the program is certified to a degree of safety that obviously the Apollo program never was. And I'll run you through all of it. I'll run you through every single number. I'll run you through every single reason why. I'll get mad at SLS and Orion. I'll get mad at the cost overruns, but there's reasons for things, and nothing is as simple. And we're so polarized right now. I don't get how it became this is good, this is bad on both sides. Like, guys, it's okay to have some overlap in vehicles, and people need to remember, if they canceled SLS and Orion, that money wouldn't just go to Starship. That money likely wouldn't go anywhere. It'd probably be gone. The only reason they get money for those programs is because of strong congressional support. You know, NASA gets, and for better or worse, I know that sucks, and I know it sucks that it's politics, but why would 20 members of Congress be so excited about a company that basically exists in Florida, Texas, and California? Like, that's only 3 senators pushing for anything. And it's not nearly, I know it sucks to think of it as a jobs program, but it's basically all or nothing. If you canceled SLS, canceled Orion, you would likely not get any of that money back. It'd just be gone. And it would not get repurposed throughout NASA to do more NASA things either, like more research. It's just not how that stuff works, unfortunately. That's the real root of the problem. It's not, and it's not even and it's also the cost plus contracting aspect, which is why I'm excited that Artemis is utilizing commercial crew partners so much, or commercial partners so much. Don't forget, SpaceX won a contract with Falcon Heavy and Dragon XL to be able to supply the gateway. So that is actually a contract in the works. There's a lot of the commercial lander services as well, which is unbelievably exciting, because they're doing commercial services for lunar landings and for payloads and for people. The actual human lander will not be cost plus. It'll be fixed price contracting for the Artemis program. So they're making steps. I think in 2011, NASA just wasn't in a place to start doing fixed price contracting. And now they are. And we're seeing this evolution. This is a perfect evolution into a commercial fixed price contract structure. And Artemis will rely on SLS and Orion for now to get us there. And then eventually, once we kind of settle and do a couple things here and there, prove out some things, get some stuff more sustainable, the commercial sector will step in and replace it. And I'm very confident in that. I think we're making the right moves. And it's an exciting time. Again, I get way too deep into this, so get ready, get your clickers ready, and get ready to watch my video, because it is long. So I hope I hope that you guys are excited for that one, because I seriously am. Sorry, that was another long rant, but what else do we have to do today? I haven't talked to anyone in a while, so this feels like hanging out with people. Patrick COD. Flaming end down and pointy end up, absolutely, and it went flawlessly. Thank you, Patrick. Technical Fool, how's it going? On time to watch a booster boop a boat. And hi, Technical Fool. CHRR, thank you so much for the topic you chose for the next video. You're welcome. Again, it's going to be beefy. Horian de Weird, cool, absolutely, thank you. LAAS43, please start covering ESA launches too. Yes, I would really like to enjoy it. I think it goes for a lot of people. Love your content. Regards to Norway. Like I said, I will. I promise I will. And maybe this will be the year that I finally step up and have time to start doing some of that stuff. I am going to be officially working with an editor along with me, so I'm not having to do every aspect of every video. I'll start relinquishing some of my duties. And yeah, that'll be happening this year. That's actually starting to happen now a little bit. So yeah, so stand by. Hopefully that means more content can come out and my stress levels would come down. Wouldn't that be nice? Like more content and less stress would be unimaginable. I can't imagine that. Sai Skanda, how's it going? Thank you so much for the cool glasses. Aylmar, I love how Kerbal the graphic on Mission Control audio stream is. Patched conics for the win. Yes, isn't that cool? I love their interface. I'm going to be working on something that I'll be, oh, by the way, patrons, stand by, because I for sure will. I have to do. We're almost at the end of the month anyway. I have to do our Patreon live stream, and I will be telling you guys about the new plans. Really exciting plans for how I'm going to be doing live coverage. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. So yeah, so I'll set up that stream here for this weekend, and we'll get on that probably Saturday or something. So, and yeah, thanks. Quick shout out to the mods and the editors. Yeah, and it says KW Cosmonaut in our Discord. If you want to join, if you're looking for a community to hang out and talk space with, the Discord community is absolutely incredible if you're looking for people to hang out with. It is a Patreon exclusive perk. That way our community stays incredibly focused, engaged, and high quality, because everyone's, you know, we don't just let random trolls into the thing and stuff like that. So patreon.com/everydayastronaut. We have the best community by far. So yeah, so stand by. I will be doing the Patreon live stream this weekend though, Discord, and get ready. There's a lot of updates. Okay, let's keep going here. Derek SP, where did that go? Went out of order like it always does. Confirmed Falcon 9 lost the structural integrity. Ice ring can't land without it. Provides crucial cooling. We'll have to revert the vehicle to the assembly building. I'm glad that we saw that ice ring and then it landed fine. Thank you. It can finally like unconfirm those thoughts, and the bad like ice ring is no longer a thing. So there you go. West Magyar. So that means 420 satellites. Elon's magic number. You're exactly right. Which by the way, 420 is now officially Elon Musk Day until it probably becomes his birthday or something. So there you go. Piano. So sorry. And thank you, Wes. Mouser 58907. SpaceX is bigger, is greater than ice ring. You're exactly right. Piano Kid 272. Can you rewatch Liftoff after the SpaceX stream is over? Something seemed really odd about the pressure of the water deluge system and didn't reach full pressure until the rocket was off the pad. That is normal. People have this misconception that the water deluge here, I'll try to pull it up here, that the water deluge is active during the actual ignition. It is not. And I have some footage from some beautiful slow-mo footage from Cosmic Perspective from Ryan Chelinsky and Mary Liz Bender that shows how that works. Let me get you guys to the right time here. So this is normal. What you're about to see is nominal. This is totally normal. So the Rainbirds there are hanging out, and they don't go full pressure until the vehicle leaves the pad and clears the deck. And that's just how it always is. I've actually noticed that comment a lot lately, that people had never noticed that before. Let me see if I can find, where would that footage be? I'll just pull up Ryan's. Here, check this out. Cosmic Perspective. And actually, they have a Don't Doubt Your Vibe that has a really good slow-mo. I'm going to mute it just in case Elon tries to sue me for music copyright claims. But check this out. So that's pad 40. Let me see. What are you talking about, Siri? Okay, here's 39A. Check out 39A. Look at how good these shots are. These are unbelievable. So check this out. Definitely check out Cosmic Perspective. If you guys aren't familiar, subscribe. They make absolutely gorgeous videos. So look at how late the Rainbirds turn on. This is totally normal. This is shots that they did themselves. That Ryan, yeah, 1,000 frames per second. How gorgeous is that? But yeah, notice how the water deluge system doesn't turn on and really go to town until after the vehicle has begun to clear the pad. And that's to soak the actual deck of the launch pad as the rocket clears. And that's all timed. That is normal. That is nominal. That is totally fine. Yep, pretty cool. I love that shot. That is one of the most stunning shots. You can tell it's the in-flight abort test. I think, because it doesn't have landing legs. I guess there could have been other pretty sooty boosters flown from 39A, but I'm pretty sure that is from the in-flight abort test. Yeah, there you go. Gorgeous footage. Thank you, Ryan and Mary Liz. I miss you guys. There you go. Good question, though, Piano Kid. And thank you for the tip. Ethan, how's it going? Thank you so much. Joe Duffy, if you could see any launch ever in person, which, obviously I think it had to be, how could you not want to see a Saturn V launch, especially Apollo 11, the first people to land on the moon? That would have been the most historic and most epic launch ever by far. But I also would have loved to see a space shuttle. And I'm really sad that I never saw a space shuttle launch, because that vehicle is just, I appreciate it more now today than I ever did, ever. It's just so beautiful. It's so different. And I love how it does that really drastic roll maneuver right off the pad. Pretty much it rolls and then pitches once it's aligned to its azimuth. Again, I do have another video that talks a lot about why rockets roll, because most of them are cylindrical. So they're, you'd think you don't need to roll. You could just go this way or that way, or just point whichever way you need to go without rolling, right? But there's a lot of reasons why they do roll, but especially the space shuttle made sense because it is asymmetrical. You would want the vehicle to be in the right orientation as it pitches over to go downrange and to go into orbit. So that is a very fun topic. But I would like to see a shuttle. I would have loved to see a shuttle. I'm really sad I wasn't a space nerd when the shuttle was launching. I kind of was. I live streamed the last space shuttle launch, or I watched the live stream of it. And that's actually one of the moments I kind of started to just barely reignite the embers for me, as I watched the shuttle leave the pad. And then I was like, oh, well, now what? And then there's like, oh yeah, nothing. Yeah, we don't really have anything. Maybe someday we'll have this. At the time, his Constellation program had just been canceled. So SLS was kind of just a twinkle in the eye. And so was the Commercial Crew program, which is barely even a thing, really. So yeah, nutty stuff. That would be what I would do. Okay, Tommy, what do you think about missions to the moon in 2024 from NASA, and if the pandemic will create a major delay? So, 2024, I honestly think is close to achievable. The hardest part by far is going to be having the lander ready and the whole lander system ready, because those contracts aren't even signed yet, but they are taking proposals. But to develop a lunar lander in basically 4 years, I guess, but but you'd want it to pretty much be done and ready to go in 3 years. That will be massive. That will be the hardest part, because by then I'm quite confident that SLS and Orion would be safe for those missions, safe for those duration missions, and getting out to that near rectilinear halo orbit or whatever it is. And yeah, I don't know. If everything goes right, 2024 is manageable. But it's spaceflight, so nothing ever happens on time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's still 2025, 2026. But the good news is we're on the way. We're finally writing checks and building hardware that is actually capable of doing this for the first time in 50 years. And that's a win. That's a huge win. I don't care if it costs a lot of money. It's not going to be that much more expensive than running the shuttle program. It's actually about the same cost as the shuttle going up into low Earth orbit. And only going I'd much rather have a landing on the moon every year, have it be expensive versus flying the shuttle 3 times a year. To me, that's a lot more exciting. So, yeah, that's what I think. And as far as the pandemic, no one can project that or forecast that at all. And if anyone claims to be able to do that, you should probably ignore them, because even the best experts in the world, everything depends on. You can say if this and that and get kind of a projection scheme there, but so much of it matters on our current actions and humanity's current actions and things like a cure and a vaccine and things like that. So, yeah, projecting that out is a horrifying thought. So I don't know what the good thing is. Most of the aerospace industry is considered essential because of the infrastructure and the defense aspect of it. So that's why SpaceX is still working. That's why they are considered an essential business. And again, I don't think a lot of people would realize, if you want to talk about the economy crashing, just have the space, all satellites and everything go away. That would probably be the biggest concern ever, would be all of our space infrastructure going away today. People do not understand how big of a backbone it is on our entire lives. Everything, All banking transactions are pinged off of, timing from satellites. So much stuff is integrated into satellites that people just have no idea. So, yeah, there you go. Norm, looking at coming down from St. Louis to see May 27th launch. Any thoughts on issue impact on watching? Any tips to come down and see it? Norm, if there's still shelter in places orders, again, as a member of the press, and if I get officially invited by NASA, I will consider it. If I was general public, I would not consider going at all. Mostly because who knows if parks are even going to be open? Who knows what? I just wouldn't plan around it, and I just don't think it's a good idea to encourage anyone to travel across the country right now, or across anywhere right now. I just don't think it's going to be. I mean, realistically, from the ground, it's just a rocket launching. It's the same thing that just happened today. From what the casual viewer will expect. Obviously, there's a lot of importance on the May 27th launch. I've never seen a launch with humans on it. I would love for this to be my first launch with humans on it. Trust me, I've been dreaming about this for literally 6 years now. I want to go so bad, but I also will be socially responsible and will be doing what's best for myself and what's best for everyone else involved, including potentially me right now in a county that's having a pretty bad outbreak. The idea of me traveling down and potentially infecting people all the way from Iowa to Florida does not sound like a very good idea. So who knows? Fingers crossed. But if things are clearing up, things are looking good, it's recommended and okayed by the CDC and other experts to go ahead and do whatever in a month, which I find unlikely. I do have a web page and a YouTube video, basically how to watch rockets in Florida. And that will give you all the tips of where to watch and things like that. Evan, but thanks, Norm. And seriously, best of luck. And I hope that didn't come off as like negative. It's just the reality of the fact. And for me, mostly. Yeah. Evan, any definite answers on if Starlink will be direct to customers or only feed ISPs in remote areas? Any word on antenna production timeline? So there's not been any. So it for sure will be a direct to consumer thing at some point. I don't know how long. I don't know how long before the infrastructure is fully ready to support a direct to consumer thing. But I would even guess that by the end of next year, but by next year even potentially, there's a chance you could go to like Starlink.com and order up your own satellite, or your satellite dish, not your own satellite, your own relay. But who really knows at this point? But the antenna production, I believe, is starting to happen. They've got it, I think, figured out based on what Elon was talking about with the Air Force and things like that. So, yeah, that's what I think. And thank you, Evan. Matthias, really appreciate all your hard work, buddy. Keep on trucking. Thank you so much, Matthias. That means a lot. It is. I work too much sometimes, especially right now when there's nothing else to do. It's like just roll out of bed, sit down and work, go to bed, and maybe try to eat. And it's finally been getting nice in the Midwest here, so I have been trying to get out like for a little walk every day because it's like cabin stir crazy time. But whatever. Yeah. There we go. Caleb Crow, finally honest about seeing Payload deploy. Is it something that they finally said? Because I kind of forgot that it's something that they don't show last time. So it definitely wasn't something I was intentionally doing. But SpaceX, yeah, they would not want to show that if it's their intellectual property. It was someone, I think last time we were watching a Starlink mission that I forgot, like, oh, whoops. Like, or I didn't think, and I was like, oh yeah, it probably is definitely intellectual property. It wasn't ever something I was intentionally doing. All right. Renow, hi. Thank you for another great launch coverage. Stay safe, everyone. Absolutely. And thank you, Renow. Good seeing you here. Abno Creations, off topic. Do you pay for footage pics you put into your videos? Is it all public domain or do you pay for some? Where can I learn this stuff? Thank you. So, Abno, I almost exclusively will use NASA footage when available because it is public domain, Creative Commons. If I have to use footage from anyone, I actually have a lot of my own library now, so I don't have to worry about asking permission for things. I look for Creative Commons as often as possible by going, obviously, to NASA's image viewer and going through some of that, then looking at museums and things like the San Diego Air and Space Museum has a lot of archival footage. There's a lot of stuff like that where you can figure out whether or not it's Creative Commons. A lot of military footage, especially in the early space program, is of course Creative Commons. And then if it is something that I don't have footage of, I will typically I always reach out to the person to see if I can get permission. But even so, using Creative Commons, as far as if I'm replaying someone's footage, I have credit on there and I link them in the description. And since I'm using it for educational purposes and having commentary underneath it, it's not just a direct, it's kind of a gray area. So that's why I really try not to use anyone's footage without their explicit permission myself. But that's my own, I just don't want to do that. So yeah. And then otherwise, yeah, I pay for like renders when I have people make engine renders for me or 3D renders of rockets and things like that. I will buy I'll oftentimes just say, hey, can you guys make me this thing? So it depends on what it is and whether or not the person has that type of stuff available. So yeah, that's how I take care of it. I think it's up to each creator to figure out how they manage those things. Paris asks, do I have a Discord server? Yes, again. And we do have a Discord server, and it is the best community, the best space community on the internet. I can guarantee you that. And yeah, it's available through patreon.com/everydayastronaut. And again, I promise, I'm not always going to be making long documentary videos because I don't necessarily like doing them. But it's because I have the support of Patreon members that I'm not sitting here just screaming, because trust me, my analytics on YouTube are sad. Like, there's normally a lot of pressure on creators, and I've had it before in the past, where you have this pressure just to put something out. And that pressure to put something out is your food on the table, is your financial future. So obviously, as a creator, I've always had that urge that I gotta get something out there. But having the support of Patreon has allowed me to no, I'm going to focus on quality, because anyone, if they want to, can do what I was doing in the past, And so I'm trying to just really dive in and educate myself and step up the quality, because I find a lot of value in that. I want it to be evergreen things that you can still look at in 2, 3, 4 years and still have the same impact and same value, especially like things like the Aerospike video. I think that video is going to remain valuable for years, and I find I'm trying to really invest in that for myself, because I find a lot of value in that myself. I know when I'm trying to watch a YouTube video, I don't want it to skim the surface. I want him to get deep. I love Engineering Explained on YouTube, because he dives in really deep. I would love to hear some more history and things like that from his channel. I love the storyline. I love the arc. I don't want to always be doing anywhere near hour-long videos. Trust me, if my next video is over a half hour, I will cry, I think, because I can't handle it anymore, at least alone. Like I said, I would love to. I'm working on having some help there. But Roadkill is reminding me that this one was supposed to be 15 minutes. I'm only 62 minutes over it. But yes, I promise, guys. I promise, Discord, I will someday make a shorter video. I want to. I miss those short videos. I do too. I hear a lot of people saying, I miss your shorter videos. Trust me, I do too. But some of these topics, I don't want to do them injustice. SLS versus Starship and using Starship for the Artemis program, that's a huge topic. There is so much to it and so much more than what people normally say. And that's what I'm sick of. I'm sick of you people hearing well, here's how much Starship's going to cost, or here's how much SLS costs. There's so much more to it than that. So much more. And leaving it only to those line item budgets is doing an incredible disservice to all of the aerospace industry. There's a lot more to spaceflight than that. And it's just not that simple, unfortunately. If it was that simple, the video would be, yes, NASA should use Starship for 2020. That's just, it's not how it works, though. Yeah. Let's see. It sounds like Mike shared a video and a picture of Starlink train just now. I don't see it. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's crazy that we are seeing. Hang on. This is from Mike in our Discord server here, guys, with Starlink train flying overhead. That's crazy. That's so nuts. I assume it's... Wait. Starlink train, or I don't know if I see the whole Starlink train. What am I looking at here? Starlink train. I don't... Is it this, and this? Or is it that? Tell me, and then I'll let everyone else know. That's cool. Whoa, and oh, good call. Hang on. Check this out. Holy Moses. That's insane. This is from Eagle Kepper at Eagle KEPR. UK pass of the just launched batch of 60 SpaceX Starlink satellites. Bright objects is the Falcon 9 second stage to the very top, and then the string of there's 2 pairs of 30 satellites being drifted. That is unbelievable. That is super, super, super cool. That's amazing. Look at that. That's so cool. I can't believe you can see that already. Suck on that, flat earthers. Okay. That's so crazy. Someone in the UK already watched that happen. That's amazing. Okay, so Isaac, 420 Starlinks now. Yes, exactly. And thanks for saying hi. Mike, aloha. Love your hard work for everyone. Do you know any progress about New Glenn? I do. Moving on. I visited their their factory a little bit ago, so I can't really say anything. Sorry. But I do know about the progress. They say they're going to launch in 2021. Jay Hardy, thanks for the membership. Same with Martin. Thank you guys so much. Derek SP, how's it going? Just saw it from Czech Republic. Too dim to photograph. The 2 dots look like tiny space peanuts sailing across the sky. That is crazy. Oh, cool. That's nuts. So Mike, with the picture that I showed you from Mike, is that blob of 60 satellites, basically. That same streak, that little blip that we had also from Eagle Kepler. That's really cool. Quest. Hi. Hey, I live in Southeast UK and I saw a second stage in the sky. My life is complete. That is so cool. I wish I could have seen that. That would have made me really happy tonight. That's awesome. Congrats to all you Europeans. I got to see it. Ahmad, your live streams help me stay sane while doing my dynamics homework. Can't wait for that Destin-style walkthrough of SpaceX's manufacturing process. Me too. That'll be really, really fun. And also, I promise that I will be doing a live stream of Kerbal. I'll probably do the live stream portion with my Discord or with my patrons of a kind of a how-to Kerbal, and then I'll likely cut it up and make a tutorial about how to run Kerbal Space Program and how to start it from the get-go. So yeah, stand by for that, because it's a good time to learn Kerbal right now with a lot of people, with the Kerbal 2 about to come online, and just for people twiddling their thumbs looking for stuff to do. Yeah. So thank you, Ahmad. Kyle, do I think the video cuts out of Starlink deploys to keep the deploy mechanism secret? I do. I think there's some intellectual property that they don't really want the rest of the aerospace industry to have exactly figured out. So yeah, good call, Kyle. Thanks for the question. Sebas, thanks for the membership. Shannon Taylor, can you make more 5XL shirts and hoodies, especially pointy end up, flaming and down ones? 6'8", you need big clothes. Cheers. If we've done 5XL, we will continue to do 5XL. I don't remember what our largest is though. I'll make sure and mention it to the shop manager and make sure that we start keeping a couple of those in stock. Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Rocks, this is cool. I live in Luxembourg and just went out to watch Starlink pass by. It passed so fast. You can see a big cluster. So exciting. That is super, super cool. I'm so glad so many people in Europe got to witness it tonight. That's awesome. Dwayne, thanks for the membership. Chazzy Mac, hey Tim, can't stay long, but will show my support when I catch a stream. Hope we can make it to DM2. Your live coverage is great. By the way, your studio looks great as well. Thank you. This is still actually a temporary studio. I was assumed by now I would have had a place in Florida, and now a lot of things are up in the air with everything. So it is still a temporary space, but it's less temporary than what my plans were. So it's good enough for now. So thank you so much. Patrick, where did that go? It did the thing that it always does. Patrick COD again. If you could choose a name for Starship, what would you call it? Oh man, probably something really beautiful, like Dr. Hamilton, the 8th member of Partolg. Dr. Hamilton, the 8th member of Partolg. That's what I'd name it. Something nice and catchy, just like that. Dragon King. There's no need for a $1 billion launch tower. I know. That sucks. That sucked. Trust me. But we talk about that. Yeah. Blank Rhyme, thanks for the message, even though I can't read it. I'm sorry. LAAS43, new to Super Chats. Can Tim see all the ones we can't see here in the chat anymore too? Will he reply to all of them on a stream? Please tag my name if answer. Yes, I do get to them if I have time like this, absolutely. So thank you. It means a lot. Thanks for saying hi. John Uthus, I've been watching this in my online class. Oh, that's very cool. Well, hi, online class. Good job still learning. I'm glad you're taking your schoolwork seriously still. I can't imagine how distracted I would be if I was in school during a pandemic. I would hope that you guys are better stewards of your time than I would have been at that age. So good job. Very good job. Mark Young, you've talked about the politics of NASA funding before. We do a video on this more in depth. Also, keep up the great job. I've been watching you for a few years now. Thanks, Mark. This video definitely gets probably more into it than I have in the past. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm not an expert, and especially when you start talking about Congress and things like that, it gets really, I get very uncomfortable that I'm going to make a mistake, and I don't really care to learn so much about the law and the politics of spaceflight. To me, that's like the most boring aspect of spaceflight. So this video that's coming up, we'll talk about it more than any other video, basically, or probably be the most in-depth. Yeah, because it's definitely a big rooted part of everything SLS and Artemis. So, yeah. DCT RIV, and thank you, Mark Young. DCT RIV, with Starlink's detrimental impact on astronomy, even after albedo reduction, this is the first SpaceX project I disagree with. Can you change my mind? So DC Triv, okay, so I guess the question is, I don't, this is a topic I honestly also don't have enough data on, and I don't know enough to have made a strong opinion, because it does suck that it could potentially totally ruin ground-based observations. At the same time, it is SpaceX, and the way they rapidly iterate things, I would not be surprised if they end up with a more powerful, more readily available system of optical and radio telescopes, basically based on Starlink in the future. And yeah, well, we might have like a 5-year gap where it's super awkward that the sky is less usable, but it sounds like they're working with astronomers, including the International Astronomy Club or whatever it is, to make sure they're taking the right moves. I kind of think it's inevitable. It kind of, yeah. And I think the greater good of the impact of having low latency global internet around the world, especially in times like a pandemic right now, where you realize that information can spread and or how much stuff can be solved using access to information, and how economies can boom using access to information, how people can learn and expand their education online, and connectivity is ever more important right now. I just think that's a lot more important than 5 to 10 years worth of astronomical observations for myself personally. I think the global impact to humanity that has is a lot bigger than the small scientific community that could make potentially exciting observations for a little bit of time. Because I think that moving in towards space-based observations, once Starlink is up, and once there's a vehicle like Starship or other big commercial launchers that can send up huge telescopes for very, very, very cheap, ground-based observations will be a thing of the past anyway. So it's kind of an awkward, it's kind of an awkward conversion point here where the two are butting heads. But I think long term that it's a lot more important that humanity becomes globally connected, ever more so than they are right now, especially areas that are underserved. And I think that'll have a huge, huge, huge impact on humanity. So that's maybe my optimistic view, though. We'll see what actually happens, and we'll see also what happens with mitigation. If they're able to make the albedo and the brightness of these satellites come down quite a bit, I guess it'd be a win-win. So we'll see. It is a valid concern, though. DCT Riv. Jacob Bayer, thank you. Happy belated Elon Musk Day, Tim. Please stay safe. Or PS, stay safe. Absolutely. You too, Jacob. Thanks for saying hi. Blank Rhyme. Didn't know you had a Discord, so I removed my previous super chat. Hey, no problem. Thank you for saying hi, and thanks for checking out Discord. Hopefully we see you in there, Blank. Say hi if you are in there. Grant D. A lot of Starlink sightings in the IC/CR area, so you shouldn't have a problem. Do you know the velocity stage 1 is going at the beginning of the landing burn? It's very slow. We could look it up on Flight Club, I think, if it's not borked still. But the landing burn, by that point, it's just terminal velocity, basically, of a booster falling. So it's not more than, I think it even goes subsonic before the landing burn begins. Yeah, the sonic booms happen. So it's subsonic. So it's less than the speed of sound by the time the landing burn happens. I'm guessing something like, I hate when I try to just totally guess out of my butt like this, but like 500 or 600 kilometers an hour or something like that. So quite a bit slower. I think the landing burn's only something like 200 or 300 meters per second of velocity of delta V. So I don't remember right offhand. But yeah, I think we could probably figure it out with Flight Club. Let me see if Flight Club is available. Hey, it looks like it's up right now. Let's see if we can run a simulation here. And let's see if we can find a reasonable velocity number. Let's do a new release. It might be borked a little bit, but it's because we love Declan and we're all fighting for his website. Meanwhile, while this loads, let's see. And by the way, a lot of Starlink settings in the, I don't know what IC/CR area. Infrared / can anyone tell me what that is? IC/CR, anybody? That'd be great to know. Manu says it's more like 700 to 800 kilometers an hour. It probably is about like that. Okay, so I think unfortunately we totally borked Flight Club. Sorry, Declan. Thomas says, just saw second stage and sats over Hungary. Thanks for the coverage, Tim. You're welcome. That's awesome. Man, again, I really wish I could see that. That'd be so cool. Forrest Daniels, if Falcon 9 weight penalty, Flight Club is down officially. If Falcon 9 weight penalty is roughly 1 to 4, how much weight is required for landing of the booster, including fuel systems and landing legs? Could upper stage be retrieved or Starlinks doubled? Upper stage, no. Just no. For Falcon 9, no. Hard stop, absolutely not. You take, again, remember, you take a lot more payload penalty putting it up on the second stage. The first stage is where you want additional weight for recovery. You reduce, don't think that the payload capacity, for instance, for Falcon Heavy almost goes in half if you recover the boosters versus, The Starlink is more volume limited at this point in the Falcon 9 fairing, and mass limited, but you'd much rather recover the first stage. The first stage is worth a lot more. It has 9 engines. It's a lot bigger. It takes less of a payload penalty. It has to scrub off less velocity. It's going slower. It's like everything points to recovering first stage. Second stage is completely so much cheaper to manufacture, so much smaller, and so much harder to recover. And it takes more of a payload penalty to have hardware on there. So I don't know the exact math. I mean, I'm sure you could probably kind of make some estimations. You might be able to put up a little bit more payload if you went with a fully recoverable second stage versus a expendable first stage. But I guarantee you'd waste a lot more money doing that. And the economics just would not work out for focusing on second stage versus first stage. But that's a good question. Josh B, if DM1 booster lands, will it refly with NASA logos? It won't refly with humans at least for a while. NASA has said they will not use reflown boosters, at least for the first little bit. I don't know. I don't know if they will refly it even sans a NASA mission. I have no idea, actually. So yeah, good question though. We'll have to wait and see. Casey Red Dragon, what is the update on Star Hopper? Star Hopper is just at this point a statue, and it was intended to become some kind of vertical test stand out there on the launch pad, which it probably still is, but as of now, it's not really doing anything. So, yeah. Blank Rhyme, what are my thoughts on the Gateway Foundation Voyager station? Do I think it's feasible? Well, I think anything is feasible with the right amount of money and funding. That's kind of the big thing in question right now. Is how do you really fund a space station of that magnitude? I absolutely see something like that in the future being a thing. So, but yeah, right now it's just kind of like, again, too early to really tell, but it's a cool concept and a cool foundation. So yeah, thank you, Blink Rhyme. David, great job. Hope things are clear enough for you to go and watch live. I really hope so too, David. I really do. Thank you. Max Sanj, thank you. And Ethan, thank you so much for liking my video. That's awesome. Thank you for saying hi. Happy Hacking Video Blog. I'm amazed at the apparently big crowd of people clapping at successful landing. Seems like they are not too worried about social distancing. Again, SpaceX does have, they have very strict guidelines on people being in Hawthorne. They have, California has very strict guidelines. I'm sure they are not in violation of those guidelines. I'm sure there is somewhat of a gathering of people, but I'm guessing it's a lot more spread out and people are wearing protective stuff. So yeah. That'd be my guess. I don't know if I'd read too much into the crowd of people clapping because there are people still at work. So, LAAS 43. Thanks for answering. Here, have some more money. You've earned it. Thank you so much. Caleb Crow. I meant that in previous streams they said that they should be able to bring us footage of deployment. Could be lack of communication. They don't owe us anything, but I prefer the straightforwardness. Agreed. Yeah, you're right. I know exactly what you mean now. Yeah, you're right. Good call, because I also didn't really think about it until the last stream, I don't think. So, yeah. Thank you, Caleb, again. Eric, thank you. Ryan Lewis, looking to build a high-detail, high-quality Saturn V model for your office. Recommendation for kits, where did you get mine? Well, mine is the highest fidelity. It is a Lego Saturn V. I think that's cool, personally. I think it's fun to do it that way. I'm not personally too into... I don't have time to really do, like, build-your-own kit types of things, high-fidelity, like, modeling like that. But the Lego one looks great and it's fun to build, so that's my recommendation. I know it's not high fidelity, high detail like you said, but yeah. Shannon, idea for a short video. Can you explain launch windows? Yeah, I can do that. I need to do one about orbits in general, but again, that's one of those things I'm like, I'm going to get something wrong in that, but yeah, I will definitely do that. Eric, did we find out the cutaway picture at 9:30? I think we talked about it, I'm assuming you're talking about the liquid oxygen stage. We did talk about that. Let me double check that I know it is. That was definitely the liquid oxygen stage. We do talk about that earlier. I could go back to it if you want, but I also need to stop talking because my throat is starting to hurt. I've not talked this much in a long time. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, 9:30 is the cutaway of the second stage. The second stage liquid oxygen tank. Here you go. Yep, we talked about that. That is looking down into the liquid oxygen tank of the upper stage. It's a super cool shot. It's just weird that you actually see liquid oxygen or like oxygen in the liquid state. It just seems bizarre to think about. But yeah, there you go. That's what that is. Tim, thank you for the membership. John Christian Swanson. Hey, Tim, how long does SpaceX, how long does it take for all the Starlink satellites to get into their orbits? How far away are they from each other? So each 60 will end up being, what is 360 divided by 60, I guess would be the real question. I'm not smart enough to do that. Is it 60? 6 or something? 360? No, divided by 60. Equals 6. They'll be 6 degrees apart from each other. Yeah, that makes sense. Whoops. Yeah, and they're just in a band, and it takes a couple months for them to get into their operational orbits and properly distance from themselves. I believe it takes probably around, 1 to 3 months or something like that. And then they will be 6 degrees apart, and that ends up looking about, like that across the sky, where you can, well, probably not quite that because they're pretty low. So it's like maybe 3 on each orbit at the same time. I don't know. Someone probably knows the exact answer, but yeah. Okay. Hopefully that answers that question. And Blank Rhyme, thank you for the membership. Okay. I think that's going to do it, guys. I got to get out of here. My throat hurts. Tanner, will Tesla stock benefit from future achievements of SpaceX? I'm not sure if their stock will, but I definitely think the collective knowledge when you push a bunch of engineers to do what are considered impossible things but aren't physically impossible. I think there's a lot of crossovers and a lot of things that will just spur innovation between Tesla and SpaceX because they're doing things very differently. Yeah, I don't know about the future stocks from achievements of SpaceX, but you never know. There might be some cross-pollination there. Derek SP, looks like this was the first and last visible pass for the most of Europe and for a very long time. Guess we won't be getting a proper train again. Well, for now, but yeah, maybe that's why there's such an increase and influx of such a huge influx of sightings of Starlink lately. It was maybe because of that passing and stuff. So yeah. Okay, guys. Again, if you work in the aerospace industry and you want to help me do what I do, or if you don't work in even if you just are a normal person, you can go to everydayastronaut.com/shop. We are working on being able to do fulfillments now, since we are working. Yeah, we can handle some fulfillments. It might be a little slower right now just because of everything happening. But if you work in the aerospace industry, you can get 25% off by clicking here, and you'll have to put in your official aerospace industry email. It'll send you a coupon code, and then you can use that to get 25% off as my thank you to you for working so hard in the aerospace industry to help get humans off this planet, and to do really exciting things for the future of humanity. And again, the aerospace shirt, which is still one of my all-time favorites, this will be, I will actually just go change this tonight. It'll be back at the normal price starting tomorrow. So if you wanted a chance to get an aerospace t-shirt at a nice cheap price, and don't forget, all of these shirts do have really cool like hand sewn on labels that are awesome and make the shirts look ever so much cooler. Yeah. And again, we'll have some new merch coming out very soon, and you guys will love it. I guarantee it, including a new version of the full flow stage combustion cycle hoodie, because you guys all love it. And so does Mr. Elon Musk, as I think we all know. So weird. So crazy. Yeah. So let me know if you guys have any other questions. Stand by. Hopefully very, very, very soon I'll have my long video. It'll be really a big deep dive on everything Artemis program with Starship and SLS and all that stuff. So stand by for that. If you guys want to help me do what I do, or if you want to hop into our Discord channel and hang out with a bunch of really cool people, go to patreon.com/everydayastronaut. That always means a lot. But that's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd. Oh, Chris, would you consider doing a video on satellite light pollution? Love your channel. That'll be part of part 3 of my rocket pollution video. So I've done part 1, which is the air quality. I will be doing one about ground and sea quality and concerns like that type of stuff. And also orbital considerations like orbital debris, space debris, light pollution, things like that. So stand by for that. Okay, that's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Stay safe.